Let's get the thoughts of political commentator Alex Deane, who's joining us. Hello to you, Alex. So much to talk about, but particularly, it's great to see you. I particularly want to talk to you about Sean Spicer and the sort of challenges that he is facing. He is the mouthpiece for his boss. How much say does he have on what he says on that platform?
Well, he'll have the ability to seek to shape the message. And I know plenty of people in DC who know Spicer and have known him in that communications world for a while and think that he's a good guy. But I think it's probably one of the hardest jobs in the world right now. Imagine being the communications professional responsible for Donald Trump, someone who is literally unmanageable, who refuses to give up his Twitter handle. And in some ways, he would be wrong to, given that that's the style in which he campaigned and got elected. So Spicer has to live right up to the very last minute, Kay, with not quite knowing the touch that his boss is going to put on the message he's about to have to deliver.
How do you think he's doing? How's his performance so far? He started off appallingly on that Saturday night.
It's been a tough start, but I think when you replace an administration like Obama's, anyone can make lots of criticism of any administration, but once you've been in post for 8 years, you tend to have your comms rhythm in the right place. Rocky starts, undeniably, but I think he's a pretty good comms professional, and I think that if they can get to the point of realising they don't need to be a kind of outrider fringe group anymore. They're not fighting the media for the sake of it. They are in government. Trump is the president. And I think there's a tiny bit of realising that in the White House to be done, as well as amongst the rest of us.
But then when Donald Trump comes out with things like alternative facts, or certainly Kellyanne Conway said that, one of his special advisors.
Yeah, that wasn't Trump. That was,
yeah. He certainly, we heard from Sean Spicer saying that Trump had gone out of his way to recognise that Jews were also affected by the Holocaust. They also talked about people that were trapped trying to get into the country, and one of them was 3 years old. And Sean Spicer had said, well, you're never too young to be a threat to this country. How much of that is him, and how much of that is his boss?
I think all of that is to do with a very ill-prepared group of people, which is too small. They don't have a large enough group of people that they trust yet to put into positions of responsibility, and thus far doesn't have enough experience. And if you think about it, that's the nature of campaigns which come from an unconventional background. The Trump campaign made its bones on being an outsider group, on not being professional politicians. And so some of the faces that you might expect to see around an incoming administration, some of the grizzled professionals who know the ropes and frankly know some of the mistakes not to make, aren't there in the same way. Now, that said, Kay, a lot of the appointments to the Trump cabinet are very conventional.
I'm going to have to take you to task on that, Alex, because, you know, Sean Spicer was part of the Bush regime, wasn't he?
Yes, in a much more junior role, as you'd expect. Of course, the Bush regime having been some 8 years before that, and his time with them ending sometime before the end of that. But yes, he'd been around in a past administration, and that is the nature of the Washington revolving door, isn't it? That many people have been on campaigns in the past. But my point is, Kay, that it hardly arose with the same force of the Republican establishment machine that pretty much any of the other candidates in the field would have had.
OK, so they've alienated the press. They really, 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 really don't like the press. That was my Donald Trump impression there. So having been there for a week, it is a dirty word being called a member of the liberal media, in their words. What do they need to do to try and get the media back on side? Do they not need the media at all? We're 21st century politics. We can use all our social media, and as a result, who cares about 24-hour news or indeed newspapers?
No, I don't think that. I think they need to work hard to re-win the trust of the press, or win it in the first place. We still rely on conventional media for our most trusted outlets of news and information. And lots of that then gets disseminated through social media, sometimes well and sometimes badly. But there is no doubt in my mind that most people, when it comes to an event or it comes to a story they're interested in, switch on the TV or go online to a reputable source in order to try to get information. And Kay, that means I think they need to try to win back the media, and in order to do so, all they need to do is be a little more open in their approach to the media and use the White House press room for genuine conversation. After all, they have their hands on the levers of power. Everyone is interested in what they're doing. Yeah. If they get out a little, just a tiny bit from the bunker and approach things a little more openly, I think they'll have a better time. After all, the cynical, jaded approach to the media tends to come after years of being in office, not right at the beginning.
OK, final word, just one word if you would. Would you like to be doing Sean Spicer's job just at the moment?
I think any comms professional worth his or her salt would definitely swap roles with Spicer. Even if they weren't huge fans of Trump, it would be a fascinating challenge, yes.
And as a comms professional, when I asked for one word, you gave me 2 dozen. It's good to talk to you as always, Alex. Thanks very much indeed.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Now, Donald Trump has been in power for less than a fortnight, as we all know, but his presidency has been full of surprises already. Last night, the sacked US Attorney General questioning the